Understanding the real story behind Trump's new executive order and dividend checks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Before we go any deeper into today's important update, I want to speak to you calmly, clearly, and with the same care I would offer to any senior trying to make sense of confusing headlines. Over the past few days, many Americans, especially older adults living on fixed incomes, have been hearing a flood of rumors about a new executive order and the possibility of receiving dividend checks worth at least $2,000. And with so many videos, posts, and articles spreading mixed messages, it's completely understandable if you feel uncertain about what is real and what is not. So let's take a moment to breathe, slow everything down, and walk through the truth together. Yes, President Trump did sign a new executive order, and yes, the White House did confirm a separate plan involving dividend payments funded by tariff revenue. But these two events were unrelated, and that misunderstanding is what caused so much confusion online. The executive order that Trump signed was focused on supporting teenagers aging out of the foster care system. It was meaningful, emotional, and important, but it was not connected in any way to the dividend payments people have been talking about. What happened is simple. Two announcements occurred around the same time, and millions of people naturally connected them as if they were one big financial breakthrough. Seniors, in particular, already stressed by rising costs, prescription prices, and medical bills, saw headlines about executive orders and payments and assumed one directly triggered the other. That confusion is understandable, and it's why clarity matters so much today. Now, here is the part that is real. The White House has publicly confirmed that President Trump is pushing forward with a plan to issue new dividend payments funded by tariff revenue. This confirmation did not come from rumors or questionable sources. It came directly from official statements and repeated messages from the president himself. He explained who these payments are intended for, why they're needed, and how tariffs could make them possible. But before anyone gets too hopeful or too skeptical, it's important to understand what has been confirmed, what has not, and what this might realistically mean for seniors living on Social Security or other fixed income benefits. Today, we're going to break all of this down in a calm, organized way so you can feel informed, not overwhelmed. Clearing up the misunderstandings about the executive order and the $2,000 dividend checks. Now that we've set the foundation, let's gently clear up the biggest misunderstanding that has been circulating online. Many seniors have been left wondering whether the executive order President Trump signed was directly tied to issuing new $2,000 dividend payments. And I understand why. When headlines move quickly and financial pressure feels heavy, it's easy to connect two events that happen close together. But the truth is much simpler and much calmer than the rumors suggest. The executive order Trump signed had nothing to do with financial payments, Social Security, or tariff-funded benefits. Instead, it focused on supporting young adults who are leaving the foster care system, an area that needed attention, compassion, and structure. It was emotional, meaningful, and very important for the families involved. But it has absolutely no link to the dividend program so many Americans are talking about. So how did the confusion start? As the executive order ceremony was happening, the White House also confirmed, through separate announcements, that the administration is actively working on a plan to issue dividend payments funded by tariff revenue. These two messages, landing at almost the same time, created a wave of misunderstanding. Many people saw the words executive order and payments and assumed they were part of the same action. But here is the clarity you deserve. The executive order / foster care support, the dividend payment plan, a separate developing initiative, the two events not legally or structurally connected. Once we separate these two pieces of news, everything becomes easier to understand. And the dividend announcement wasn't an accident, a rumor, or a political slip. It was a deliberate and repeated message from President Trump outlining who he wants the payments to help and why he believes the funding source exists. And for seniors, this clarification matters deeply. You're not dealing with false promises, but you're also not dealing with a program that has been legally finalized. You're dealing with a confirmed intention, but not yet an approved federal payment. In the next part, we will move into the details, who these payments are truly targeted toward, and why your demographic is at the center of this conversation. Who these dividend payments are actually targeted toward. Now that we've separated fact from confusion, let's turn our attention to the part that matters most to millions of seniors across the country. Who exactly are these dividend payments intended for? Because while the headlines may sound broad or dramatic, President Trump has been surprisingly specific about the groups he hopes to support through this plan. In his public statements, especially the messages he posted directly on his social platform, President Trump emphasized again and again that these dividend payments are not for everyone. They are designed for lower income and middle income Americans, the people who have felt the deepest impact of rising prices, shrinking savings, and ongoing financial strain. And as many of you already know from personal experience, seniors living on fixed benefits often fall squarely into those categories. Whether you rely on Social Security to cover your basic monthly needs, whether you receive SSDI or VA disability benefits, or whether you're managing a modest retirement income after decades of work, you are exactly the demographic Trump has referenced repeatedly. He spoke directly about seniors struggling with grocery costs, rising medical bills, energy expenses, and the unpredictable realities of retirement in today's economy. And there's more. Although the final eligibility rules have not been written into law, we do have a strong clue from previous legislation President Trump supported. When Senator Josh Hawley introduced a tariff dividend proposal months earlier, a proposal Trump publicly endorsed, it included an income limit of under $100,000 for individuals. While this number isn't guaranteed for the new plan, it gives us a window into the administration's general intentions. But income isn't the only factor Trump made clear. He stated plainly that these payments would be for U.S. citizens only, not visa holders, not temporary residents, not individuals without citizenship status. This is a key detail because it tells us the program is designed to support Americans who are already part of the Social Security, tax, and federal benefit systems. At the same time, Trump made it equally clear who would not be included: high-income earners. This is not a universal stimulus. It's a targeted effort aimed at helping those who feel inflation the most, people just like you. In the next section, we'll explore exactly what Trump has confirmed about how the payments would work and what this could mean for your financial stability going forward. What President Trump has actually confirmed about the $2,000 dividend payments. Now that we understand who these payments are aimed at, let's take a closer look at what President Trump has officially confirmed. This is where the conversation becomes especially important for seniors and anyone living on a fixed or limited income. While the internet is filled with rumors, exaggerations, and misunderstandings, Trump's direct statements give us the clearest picture so far of what this proposal is intended to look like. In his own words, President Trump stated that the administration plans to issue a dividend of at least $2,000 per person, specifically targeted to low and middle income Americans. There was no hinting, no vague language, and no suggestion that this was just an idea floating in the background. He said it plainly, he repeated it publicly, and he shared it across multiple platforms where millions of people could see it. That level of repetition matters. When a president makes a commitment this visible and this specific, it becomes more than just political talk. It becomes a message that carries weight and public expectation. Leaders rarely make promises at this scale unless they are actively working behind the scenes to create a pathway toward making it happen, whether through legislation or another approved federal structure. But beyond the amount itself, Trump also explained why he believes these payments are necessary. He pointed out that lower and middle-income Americans have carried the heaviest financial burden in recent years, facing higher grocery prices, increased medical costs, rising housing expenses, and shrinking purchasing power. Seniors, veterans, disabled Americans, single parents, and working families are the groups feeling this strain most intensely. Trump's position is simple. Tariff revenue collected from foreign imports can and should be used to provide direct relief to American citizens who need it most. And just as importantly, he stated that any leftover revenue would be used to reduce the national debt, giving the plan a two-part purpose: short-term relief and long-term financial strengthening. For seniors, this is meaningful. It acknowledges your struggle. It recognizes the pressure you live under every day, and it places you at the center of the proposed support. In the next section, we will break down what qualifying for these payments might look like based on all the information currently available, who would likely qualify for these payments, and what seniors should understand. Now that we've covered what President Trump has confirmed, let's move into a question every senior has been asking. Will I qualify for this payment if it becomes real? And I want to walk through this carefully because clarity protects your financial peace of mind. Although the administration has not yet released final eligibility rules, we can make strong, reasonable observations based on Trump's public statements and the earlier tariff dividend proposal he supported. In that earlier bill, individuals earning under $100,000 were eligible for the payments. This is important because it gives us a reference point, a window into how middle and lower income Americans were defined in a similar context. If the new plan follows the same model, then most seniors living on Social Security, SSDI, VA disability benefits, or modest retirement income would fall well within the intended income range. Many older Americans live on far less than $100,000 a year, and Trump has repeatedly emphasized that these checks are designed for people feeling the impact of inflation, living on fixed incomes, and trying to keep up with rising medical and grocery costs. There is another key detail Trump made absolutely clear. Only U.S. citizens would be eligible. This means the payment is aimed at Americans who are part of the federal tax and benefit system. It excludes temporary residents, visa holders, and individuals without citizenship status. This detail alone shapes the entire structure of the proposal. But just as important as understanding who qualifies is understanding who does not. High-income earners, particularly those making well above six figures, are excluded under Trump's own description. This is not a universal stimulus check. It is a targeted effort designed to help the people who have the least room in their budgets and who feel financial shocks the most. For many older adults, that description fits their reality perfectly. However, I want to speak gently and honestly here. While the public messaging is strong, nothing is official until it becomes law or a formal framework is announced. That means you should not reorganize your finances, postpone payments, or expect money to arrive until the government confirms eligibility and distribution procedures. In the next part, we will discuss where the funding for these payments would come from and whether this plan is financially realistic. Understanding the funding source, how tariff revenue could pay for dividend checks. Now that we've talked about who may qualify, let's focus on another major question many seniors have been asking. Where would this money actually come from? Because no matter how encouraging a proposal sounds, people living on fixed incomes deserve to know whether the funding is realistic or simply political noise. President Trump's plan is built entirely around one core idea: tariff revenue. And while that term might feel complex or technical, the concept behind it is actually very straightforward. When the United States places tariffs on imported goods, whether those goods are cars, steel, electronics, or everyday consumer products, foreign companies importing those items must pay a fee to the U.S. government. Think of it as a tax on foreign goods entering the country. All of that money goes directly into the U.S. Treasury. And depending on the tariff levels, the revenue can add up quickly. Trump has repeatedly argued that tariffs generate far more money than most experts predicted, and he believes that revenue can be used in two meaningful ways. First, to fund direct dividend payments for low and middle-income Americans. Second, to reduce the national debt with whatever funds remain. To help people understand the concept, Trump compared it to the Alaska Permanent Fund, a long-standing program where the state of Alaska distributes yearly payments to its residents from oil revenue. While tariffs and oil profits are very different sources, the basic idea is similar. The government collects revenue, and a portion of that revenue is returned to the people. However, it's important to be clear and honest. Even if the money exists, a federal system for distributing it does not, at least not yet. For these payments to become real, the government would need a legal framework, either through Congress or through a strong executive mechanism that can survive legal scrutiny. That means we are still in the early stages, not the implementation stage. Still, the fact that the administration is openly discussing tariffs as a funding source is meaningful. It tells us the idea has moved from a campaign-style promise into the early stages of structural planning. And for seniors, that shift is important. It means the proposal is more than just talk. In the next part, we'll address the question weighing most heavily on your mind. When could these payments realistically arrive? When could these payments realistically arrive? A calm and honest timeline. Now that we understand how the payments might be funded, let's gently address the question that sits at the front of every senior's mind. When could these payments actually arrive? And I want to speak to you with complete honesty and clarity because your financial stability depends on accurate information, not assumptions, not hype, and not wishful thinking. As of today, there is no official timeline for when these dividend checks would be issued. There is no federal schedule, no IRS calendar, and no exact date announced by the administration. And while that may feel disappointing, especially with the growing excitement around the idea of $2,000 payments, honesty is what protects you from stress and financial missteps. Even though the White House has confirmed the plan publicly, and even though President Trump has spoken about it repeatedly, we are still in what I would call the promise stage, not the payment stage. Before a single dollar can reach your mailbox or your bank account, there must be a legally approved structure in place. That could be a bill passed through Congress, or it could be a separate executive mechanism that complies with federal law. But without one of those two pathways, no payments can be issued. To help guide expectations, it's useful to remember what happened with the pandemic stimulus checks. Even when the government moved extremely quickly, each round of stimulus still required formal approval, federal coordination, and several weeks of processing time before Americans actually received their payments. That means that once a plan is formally introduced, if Congress or the administration moves efficiently, we might expect a similar waiting period, several weeks to a few months. But here's the hopeful side. When a president makes a public commitment of this size, pressure builds. Millions of Americans begin watching, expecting, and demanding updates. And history shows that public pressure often accelerates the political process rather than slowing it down. Still, I want to gently remind you, do not budget around money that has not been finalized. Do not skip bills or delay medical appointments based on early announcements. Hope is healthy, but planning your finances around unapproved funds can lead to unnecessary hardship. In the next part, we will explore what these payments could mean specifically for seniors and why your demographic is central to this conversation. What these payments could mean for seniors living on fixed incomes. Now let's talk about what this proposal could truly mean for seniors, because this is where the impact becomes deeply personal. For many older Americans, a $2,000 payment is not just extra money. It is meaningful relief in a time when every dollar matters more than ever. If you are living on Social Security, you already know that your monthly benefit is not simply a deposit. It is the foundation of your entire financial life. It's what keeps the lights on, puts food in the refrigerator, pays for medications, covers medical appointments, and helps you manage rising insurance premiums. And when prices climb faster than your benefits, the pressure can feel relentless. A dividend payment of $2,000 would not solve every challenge seniors face, but it could provide real, immediate breathing room. It could help you refill prescriptions you've been stretching longer than you should. It could allow you to catch up on a medical bill you've been worrying about. It could give you a small cushion for emergencies, something many seniors no longer have after years of inflation eating away at their savings. This relief would also be deeply meaningful for veterans, especially those living on disability benefits or modest retirement incomes. Many veterans tell me that even with their benefits, rising medical expenses and daily costs make it difficult to stay ahead. A one-time payment could help them finally catch up or take care of needs they've been postponing. The same is true for disabled Americans receiving SSDI. Inflation has hit this group particularly hard. The essentials, food, transportation, utilities, have all increased dramatically. A targeted dividend would support individuals who feel these shifts more intensely than most. And if you're a senior who is raising grandchildren or helping adult children with housing or expenses, that $2,000 could help ease responsibilities you never expected to carry later in life. But I want to gently repeat something very important. Nothing is guaranteed yet. Until a legal framework is in place, these payments cannot be counted on as future income. Please do not skip bills, delay care, or assume this money is already yours. In the next section, we'll talk about what seniors can do right now to be prepared and to protect themselves from scams or misinformation. What seniors should do now. Staying prepared and protecting yourself. Now that we've discussed the potential benefits, let's focus on what seniors can do right now to protect themselves and stay prepared. Because even when a proposal sounds promising, your safety and financial stability must always come first. The first important step is to make sure that the IRS has your most current information. If you've moved recently, changed bank accounts, or stopped filing taxes because your income is low, your payment could be delayed if a program like this is eventually approved. Remember, during past stimulus payments, the IRS relied on the most recent tax return to determine both eligibility and direct deposit details. This does not mean you owe money or must pay taxes. Many seniors owe nothing. It simply ensures the government knows where to send funds if the program becomes real. Next, I want you to be extremely cautious about scams because whenever major financial announcements circulate, especially those involving seniors, scammers move quickly. They may call pretending to be government workers, send emails asking you to register, or claim you need to pay a fee to receive your payment faster. Let me be very clear. The government will never call you directly to confirm eligibility. They will never ask for your Social Security number over the phone. They will never charge you to receive a federal payment. If anyone contacts you asking for personal information or money, it is a scam. Hang up immediately, delete the message, and do not engage. While we wait for official updates, I also encourage you to explore the programs that already exist to help seniors right now. Many older adults qualify for benefits they never realized were available. Programs like SNAP for groceries, LIHEAP for heating and energy costs, rental assistance, Medicaid expansion benefits, and pharmaceutical discount programs. These resources can provide meaningful relief today without waiting for Congress or the White House to act. And finally, I want to encourage you to stay informed but not overwhelmed. You don't need to track every rumor or headline. What matters is receiving calm, accurate information from trusted sources, information that helps you make wise decisions without fear or confusion. In the final section, we'll bring everything together and talk about what all of this means as we look ahead. Final thoughts: staying hopeful, staying practical, and moving forward together. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want to leave you with something deeper than policy details or political announcements. I want to leave you with a sense of calm, clarity, and confidence because you deserve to feel steady and informed, not anxious or overwhelmed by headlines. Yes, President Trump has made a very public commitment to providing $2,000 dividend payments to lower and middle-income Americans. Yes, the White House has confirmed that the administration is actively working on this plan. These two facts alone show that the idea is real, the intention is serious, and the momentum behind it is significant. But at the same time, it is equally true that nothing has been finalized yet. No law has been passed, no timeline has been set, no eligibility rules have been officially written, and that is why I want to gently remind you, stay hopeful, but stay practical. Hope gives us strength. It gives us something to look forward to, but practical thinking protects your financial well-being. It helps you avoid decisions based on assumptions or incomplete information. So continue paying your bills as you normally would. Continue planning around the income you already have. And continue taking care of your day-to-day needs without depending on money that is still in the proposal stage. But please don't mistake practicality for resignation. Real change often begins with public conversation, and right now millions of Americans are paying attention. When people pay attention, lawmakers respond. When pressure builds, action often follows. While we cannot predict the exact outcome, the fact that these discussions are happening at such a high level means the possibility is very real. And through all of this, I want you to remember something important. You are not facing these challenges alone. Seniors across the country are navigating rising costs, unpredictable expenses, and financial stress. You deserve information delivered with care, not fear. You deserve updates that help you breathe easier, not feel more confused. And that is why I will continue to be here, walking you through each development clearly, calmly, and honestly. If today's update helped you feel more grounded or more confident, I'm grateful. Please stay safe, take good care of yourself, and remember, you deserve stability, security, and peace of mind. And together, we'll continue navigating whatever comes next.